Hi everyone, here we are. Here I am with Laura and Dr. Sharnael to speak about what it is about to be a spiritual warrior. Hi girls, how are you?
Hi. Hello everybody. Hello y'all. So happy to be here.
To be here with you guys.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I had the idea to create this little chat roundtable to speak about an aspect that we all encounter in our work as a light worker and a spiritual activist, can say. We have been confronted, each of us, to sometimes people reacting surprised that being spiritual worker or light worker, and we can sometimes react asking people to respect our boundaries and knowing sometimes I go like, oh, F off, leave me alone, and I'm entitled to say what I think. And sometimes I'm a normal person, and people have tendency to forget that we are just normal people. So girls, have you had been confronted to these aspects in your work? For instance, Laura, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, protecting oneself is so incredibly important. There are all sorts of attacks and targetings and trolls, and it's important to be able to tell the difference. Sometimes people are just so confused, they can't really process the information, and I want to be available, but if there's just total disrespect, I just don't have time for it. I mean, why can't we just be in a vibration of respect or integrity and, kindness? So anything that is not there, I've just really learned to just block, delete, and sometimes I just kind of say it like it is, and then I delete, just to leave on a certain note. But yeah, I feel it takes a lot to discern. But I've gotten good over the years at kind of telling the difference between a troll and an attacker versus, somebody who just feels lost and confused and overwhelmed. And I try and maintain compassion. But yeah, I get really fired up. There's some times that I think people are a little surprised that I'm not as soft as I sometimes am. I feel, it's the mama bear instinct. I know people use that term a lot in these times that we're in, wanting to protect the children, caring so much to the point of just having a fire that cannot be squelched or put out. And sometimes that fire, sometimes I say, I got to warn the villagers because the volcano is going to blow when I'm really feeling tested to try and warn everybody. But I think, we're carrying a warrior energy. We have a lot of passion connected to what we do. And that passion is what keeps us alive and keeps us going. So I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yes, I like when you say that the passion fuels us. We do that because we have the passion for it. So, of course, passion is always there in a way or the other. Sharnael, what do you have to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of interesting, just being in this industry now for 20 some years, almost 30 years, that it's like no matter what, when you're in the public, light brings moths, and flies, and just, so there's the opportunity all the time to do our best to just reflect. And I've been looking at that word a lot, reflect, and actually pulled it up because I was like, to reflect, to do again. RE means to do again, and deflect, to throw back light or sound without absorbing it. I was like, whoa. So, for me, I don't always do the best job. And like Laura mentioned, I mean, her and I have had lots of conversations about this. So when you posted about this a few weeks ago, I was like, Laura, look, she's talking about what we've been talking about, because it is, it's so weird that I think if you were at a store and you didn't like what someone was wearing or their hair, or I don't know, pick a thing, you would have a lot less courage probably to just walk over and go, oh my God, your shirt is like disgusting, or your hair is gross, or let's say something's on the shirt that suggests like who they like, or, you know, a team they like, or some affiliation or something. A lot more people would be less courageous to just walk over to a random stranger and just go, oh my God, that shirt represents this to me and I don't like it, and blah, blah, blah. But behind a computer, it seems like they can do this like fly-by hate with no consequences, without looking at someone else's eyeballs, without seeing that they have children standing next to them, you know, just, so I think it's a little bit of like, they're sort of detached from the real reality of us being people. And, you know, so it's kind of like this couch potato, like quarterbacks who've never done shit, but they can tell you what all you need to be doing. And it's just, it's a little annoying, to be honest, but it is what it is. And I delete or I will respond. It depends, because like Laura, you know, there's sometimes, and I know you could do this too, Elena, where someone will be asking a question and you can tell like they're legit wanting to know something, and they're like truthfully searching and seeking, and there's like an energy to it, an undercurrent that can be felt, versus when it's just someone upset and saying something, you know, like, what kind of doctor are you? They're not asking like, well, what kind of doctor are you? I'm really encouraged. I want to know blah, blah, blah. Or yeah, doctor. It's like, okay, well, you know what? You do 21 years of school and internships and all your practical, you know, stuff on the side. And not to mention all of the classes that I've taken over the years that don't really count towards a degree of any kind, but just because I'm an eternal student and I love to learn. And it's usually some person who literally, you know, works, maybe is homeless, doesn't have a job, that they can be upset about your position or whatever you guys are doing. I mean, you guys have years and years and years doing what you're doing, you know, as an author, as a speaker, as a truther. You know, you have the legacy of what you guys have been doing and building this whole time. So part of it is just like knowing who you are. Like, I know I went to school, I know what I do. I'm not upset that you don't get it. It's totally fine that you're ignorant. And I mean ignorant in the sense of the true word, like innocently don't get it. And, or maybe not innocently, but ignorant meaning they just are not informed and not willing necessarily to get informed. And it is, I'm sure you guys who are watching have your own, you know, situation of what you do too. But, you know, sometimes it's just like reflect and sending them light and love. And sometimes it's like just personal hygiene, you know, you're a troll bot. And sometimes it's a bot. It's not even a real person. And you're just like, okay, you're totally not even a real person. So I don't know. What do you do, Elena?
Well, I try to be nice and kind, because I do this because I want to help people. I want to help them understand what's happening, bring them what the little I know about things. And so I like to be educative, to be like a teacher teaching. I love that. That's something that makes me happy to, when someone has understood something or learned something. That fulfills me. But then when someone just is not happy or doesn't understand the information, well, you can say, oh, sorry, I don't agree with you and I'm not really into it. And that's it. No, there are some people, they're going to try to, I mean, that's bullying. And I think since all these lockdowns, I'm going to say it, people have more and more communicate indirectly via internet. And oh my God, that has brought the best and the worst in people. And sometimes, I mean, I stand up and I say, well, no, well, if you're not happy, go away, and I use other words. And then people are shocked. And I got messages like, I thought you were a spiritual person. I'm so disappointed.
Oh,
how to take a sword and shoot arrows. I have actually my certificate as an archer. I know how to shoot arrows. No, I mean, it surprised people, and I was happy to have this conversation and share it with all of you guys, because to help people understand and just step back, we are not different. We're just doing a work by passion, and we're just normal people, you know. And even the higher beings with whom I communicate with, like Thorhan, like Valthor, like other ones, they have humor. They say F off as well. And Thorhan told me once, we are working for spiritual evolution, but we know how to take a gun when it's needed and shoot when it's needed, because that's part of the work. Being a spiritual warrior is not being sat on a cloud and just doing nothing, you know. It's always acting. What do you think, Laura?
Hold on. Oop. Oh, yes, I'm unmuted. Absolutely. A lot was kind of coming to me as you were speaking. I think people put others in a box, like, oh, the divine feminine needs to look like this and act like this. And to me, that's not divine. To me, that's part of a program. I think authenticity is everything, being ourselves, and being real enough with ourselves to just really embrace the journey. Whatever we need to transform within ourselves, whatever is grabbing our attention as far as the greater mission, and also the things that we've been called to sort of defend, not in a defensive necessarily kind of way, unless there's attack, you know, where you really need to protect and defend oneself. But I mean, we're coming in with a larger picture that goes beyond the human sphere, that makes it very, very difficult, at least for me, to function in the human realm. Like, I'm just like, okay, how do you play human? Like, how do you do this? I'm like, I don't even know, like, why it feels foreign to me at times. I think maybe because of the programmings, because I do feel like a very earth-based person. I feel very connected to Mother Earth. Yeah, I just feel that people put others in a box, they create a projection, and I don't think any of us claim to be enlightened. I don't feel that I ask for this sort of judgment if I disappoint somebody. It's like I'm a resource. I'm living my life as best as I can. I'm dealing with traumas just like everybody else. I'm doing my best. I'm in service to humanity, and it's a love-based mission. And love doesn't need to be perfect, because love in and of itself has a quality that is healing and transformative. And I just stand by that. And I'm willing to admit where, yeah, I'm not perfect, or, you know, where I struggle. So it's just important not to put people in a box, because to me, divine feminine, divine masculine is authenticity, integrity, and when appropriate, transparency, and also being a defender and protector of the sacred ground and the sacred flame that we hold. That is really looking to protect the innocent and the children and the things that really matter. And so to put ourselves on the front lines, it'd be, and we do get a lot of support. It's great to have support than criticism, because the targeting is real. And yeah, so I'm just kind of leave it at that. I feel like major aspects of the feminine have to do with this fire, this strength, this sort of protecting your eggs at all cost, metaphorically speaking, protecting children at all cost, to the point where there might be a stronger tendency and instinct than even maybe men at times. We have the divine blueprint of the masculine and feminine within us. And I think a very important part of the awakening process is to embrace both. Just as men who have been taught not to cry, you know, need to kind of find that inner feminine and softness as well. And so, yeah, I just feel I just embrace both, and one shows up when necessary and the other one, but I don't kind of divide it. I see it as a union that conceives together, works together, flows together. The electric magnetic energies that flow throughout our system. I mean, these are just incredibly rough times, very difficult times. I think the emotionality of being so passionate and then just feeling, heartbreak sometimes because you care so much. It's like some people just don't see what's really going on, and there's only so much you can do. And I feel it can take quite a toll, the emotions, that come up, because it's not political for folks like us. It's so deep, and it's so protective and just so in service to humanity that when it gets lost in the mix of conspiracy theories, politics, right or left, or if God forbid we mention a person's name who might take an office, how quick people are to kind of dismiss, or, oh, because I'm related to Eisenhower, I have to be persecuted and ridiculed for whatever mistakes he made. It's like there needs to be a spiritual maturity that develops in people, so that we can exist in a soul matrix and have more love and respect for one another, and consider each other's feelings. And it just seems very simple, but it's amazing how difficult it is. All the conquering divide has been very successful in a lot of ways.
Yes. Sharnael, what you to say?
Yeah, I mean, love looks like a lot of different things. And I think people think, oh, well, love, that means you just have to be like lay down and be a doormat and never stand up for yourself. And that's not true. Unconditional love is actually being in your truth. And sometimes truth looks like standing up for yourself and responding in love. You don't have to have like a charge about it or be pissed off, or sometimes you can. And when you are, just admit it and be like, you know what, I'm sad, or I'm pissed off, or, if that's the only thing that's going to transmute it, is that honesty that Laura was talking about. Is just being honest. And if you don't talk about it, it doesn't make it go away. It's still going to have a code that goes out into the field, and then you collect more. So to be just being honest and having days where you just cry if you need to cry, because honestly, some things will not detox through any kind of diet or sauna, only through tears. Tears are huge detoxers. And, maybe just go cry, maybe go, be honest with yourself and have a minute of just being like, finishing the sentence, I feel blank, and then just saying what you feel and saying it out loud, or journaling it to make sure that these energies are actually moving through you and not getting stuck. That whole reflection is not to absorb, but when we do absorb, if we can just go, okay, this got trapped, obviously it's triggering something else, and then just being honest about it and talking to a friend or journaling or talking to God or whatever you need to do. But going back to what Laura was saying, and really both of you, I mean, just because we are here doing whatever we're doing, okay, my dogs are working now, doesn't mean we don't have personal issues going on too. We are in process. We're doing this on the front lines, but we're still in process too. I mean, I had, oh my God, my dog. My father-in-law, my former father-in-law passed, this last week. And then my father-in-law is in ICU as well. And all of that was from this thing. And right now my aunt's in ICU. Both of my parents are very, very sick. I mean, this has been going on for a bit, and so to continue and do what we're doing, and then still be out there and talk to people and answer and do consultations and try to help people. I mean, we do it because we love people, and we don't want anyone else to have to go through what we're experiencing, or what I'm experiencing, at least with my practice. And so it gives me more of a fire after I can transmute and let go and move through it. Then I'm even more fire to just get the word out and blast this information, because I don't want anyone else to go through this. I don't want anyone else to have to cry and upset over anyone being lost. And one thing I could tell you is, working with the legislation people here in my current state where I'm living. Oh my God, I'm going to kill my dog. Not really. I'm going to kill my dog, but It's mostly all women who are standing up in the legislative, at least in my state, and that is aggravating too, because it's like, talking about the spiritual, the divine versus the male. Like, dude, where's the guys that are standing up for this? I would really appreciate it if the dudes could get upset. It seems like they got upset about the money issue, but if it's about like health, they're not there. So I'm going to mute so you guys can, but I'd love to hear your response to that too.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Elena?
Yeah. Well, I like when Sharnael said it's going through us, all our emotions, and that's all we all are. We are vessels for either emotions. Emotions are just the flow of energy that is as it is with everything happening in our lives or in the world, and it passes through you and through us. And I mean, it transforms, and sometimes tears, sometimes it's laughter, sometimes it's anger, and that's how it has to be. We are not these emotions and this energy. It's just passing through us. And when I deliver a message, I mean, I feel so vulnerable. I mean, I can tell everyone when I deliver a message I receive, I feel vulnerable. So because people associate often the message with the messenger or the emotion, like if I would crack up in tears, oh, she's so emotional or blah, blah, blah. No, I'm so many other things else. It's just things passing through. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
So just to, I mean, we're elemental beings: earth, air, fire, water, ether, and we experience different climates within our own being. So sometimes it's monsoon season, we might just cry for a month. Sometimes it's scorching desert heat and it's all fire, or a big bonfire, and sometimes it's just whatever. I mean, to me, this is the full experience, and I don't know what to make of the word enlightenment. I mean, sometimes I feel like it's a certain level of neutrality, inner peace, and attainment of a really, really strong spiritual connection. But how can we possibly get there if we're going to shove things down, if we're not going to experience the fullness of all that we are? And I feel like nature is just such an incredible teacher. Okay, so clouds might obscure the sun, but that sun is still there. And that could be, oh, the sky looks depressed because it's so cloudy. But I mean, there's still sunshine behind it. It needs to release. It needs to rain. And the cycles of nature teach us so much too about growth, decay, compost, regrowth that is stronger than before because the soil gets composted, and just this whole process that we see in nature is happening within ourselves and within our soul. And I never feel healthy when I can't speak my truth and I can't be where I'm at, and I can't be around anybody who doesn't allow it or wants to control it. And it's worth it to me to have people be like, wow. I mean, even when I was growing up, I was like, my mom's like, man, you're crying all the time and this and that. And I was crying for the suffering of humanity, whatever. And I said, I need to. This is just what I do. Don't put me on pharmaceuticals and don't even suggest it. Let me feel, let me be, this is part of the greater experience. And people have become so afraid of their emotions, their anxieties that can be transmuted. Fear can become love. That we don't go through these healthy initiations. Instead, we hand that power over to a doctor to prescribe something for us to shut it down and to shut it off. When to me, this is part of what true self-love or self-acknowledgement and self-discovery is all about, is to feel it so you can heal it, and so you can become closer to yourself and get to know yourself when you face those adversities or those discomforts within. And that's part of the dark night of the soul. We wouldn't want to medicate that. That's stunting our growth. And right now on the planet, that's exactly what they're doing with this dark agenda, is to pull people away from themselves and have somebody else be the authority to solve issues that we absolutely are capable of solving ourselves and healing and transforming.
Yes, it's cutting us from nature, from our connection with the universe. That's what they do. Yeah. Yeah. Sharnael, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just going to say too that you know, we're programmed not to cry, not to feel. Like, there's already a massive program for that anyways. Like, I grew up and I was told, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. And it's like, okay, you know, and I don't think it was like out of being mean or anything. I think it was just like maybe they were feeling so uncomfortable and helpless to fix it that they were just like felt better if I didn't cry, you know, and just that their mentality too, you know, and, you know, if we don't, then it gets stuck. It gets stuck in here. And when it's stuck, then it causes dis-ease in the body. And that can cause further issues. And that's not, you know, that's not going to help. The bottom line is it's responsibility, is being able to respond with love instead of reaction. And, you know, if there's a reaction, which I've had a lot of, then that means that something in me is not healed yet. And, you know, different things in different people, and out of nowhere something can trigger. And then it's like, oh my gosh, what is this going on? And if we can ask ourselves and be above it enough to kind of observe from the outside and ask ourselves, what is triggering me, what's going on, and talk ourselves through and get to the bottom of it, and just, you know, own our feelings, then that's how it does move through, and we don't get that stuck. And relationships can be, you know, maybe helped at the same time. The one thing that's, I think a lot of us may be facing, at least people I've talked to, is talking to family members and or people who like seem to not get it at all. And it's like talking to a brick wall, and the frustration with that. And, you know, I could say on a personal level that when I've had to ask myself, why am I getting so upset that they don't get it or that they don't believe me? And of course, there's the part of, you know, wanting to help them so they don't self-destruct. You know, that's probably the biggest thing, is like, we just want to help everyone not to make those choices. But also, if you go even further and looking into it, for me is, I think that there's something in me that was like, wow, they don't trust me enough. They don't believe me. And it's like a personal that I'm upset because they're doing it anyway. And it's like, really, after 50 years of knowing me, you are going to do this anyway, when you know, I love you, and you know, I would only tell you this because I love you. And you know that I literally have experience with this every single day with patients and side effects and things that I'm seeing. And so I've had to kind of look back and go, try not to take it personal, even though, you know, that situation is. And I've had to look at a couple people in particular that I had to say, you know, very, very close family members who I know just really trust the government or really trust doctors, you know, and so even no matter what I've said, they've not been there, because I'm like, why do you trust them? I just want to know, you know, or here's the facts, and, you know, look at these things and have the courage to step out and maybe look at a few things. And when yesterday I had this epiphany, I was out at the lake and I was crying. I'm going to cry again, but I was just going through my stuff, and I realized that ego is so big in this, because if there's ego involved, and they maybe have worked with the government their whole life, or in the medical industry their whole life, and now they're being told the government is doing this or the medical is doing this, then they have to accept. They don't have to, but they get the opportunity to either accept, wow, all my life I've been in this industry and worked in this industry, and it's not really that good. And realize that they participated in that. And some people cannot bear that. They just cannot bear to know that they've spent however many years in the military, or however many years medical, or however many years you fill in the blank, and been participating in it without realizing how terrible and malicious that this really is. And they can't bear it, because then they're responsible too, and they don't want to be. And, you know, so it's easier to turn a blind eye and just defend it and fight it and stay with, you know, whatever your current belief system is and those attachments, because then they're not wrong, which, you know, I'm not seeing anybody as wrong. I'm just explaining that things have changed and things are very different. And, you know, the V's aren't what they were. And, you know, so I had that kind of aha yesterday where I was like, well, no wonder. This makes sense to me now that they don't want to, they would, because that would be admitting that they were part of it. And that's hard for a lot of people to admit, whether you're in full-time ministry and then you realize, oh my God, this is all wrong, or the government or the medical, or you fill in the blank. It's like you spent all these years in this system that's a system. And part of awakening is realizing that you are now in a possible deprogram, you know, process. You can actually deprogram now. And again, some people would rather just put a hoodie over their eyes and be in the dark and be blissfully thinking everyone's supporting them and that they don't have any responsibility, instead of actually being responsible and realizing, you know what, I was fooled. I was fooled. I was fooled into this, and I was wrong. And now I got to make new decisions, and that's tough for some people. Does that make sense? What do you think?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
You want to go ahead?
Yeah. Go on, Laura.
There you go. Oh,
no, I want. Yeah. Well, I wanted to say that the denial is really something we need to be brave enough to face. And I think what humanity, a lot of people would do in Sharnael, in the situation of the people you describe with their work, suddenly they realize that they've been participating to something that lied to them and that harmed other people. Well, you know what? What if we try to forgive ourselves, telling ourselves, it's all right. You didn't know at the time. You were misled. It's not your fault. You were misled. Now you know. So forgive yourself. That's hard, but then the denial goes. What do you think, girls? Well, Laura, you want to say something? Sorry.
Oh, no. I'm listening. Oh,
yeah.
I was going to say, we're kind of born into captivity. It's sort of like zoo animals that give birth in the zoo. So it's multi-generational of kind of being in this matrix. Why are we not, well, I'm not speaking on behalf of folks like us, but why aren't people brave enough to just be like, wow, okay, you were misled. We all were. We are all plopped in front of the television. We all like went to school. We had to sit behind a desk and face, you know, a system that only favors the A+ students, and anybody who gets an F or skips class, oh, that's me. It's just sort of like, you're just kind of a loser, right? And I'm like, all right, I can play that role because it makes people more comfortable than to be like, hey, look at where I'm putting my attention and the education that I'm getting, going to a library and studying, you know, astrology, galactic history, and researching whistleblowers and exopolitics and ascension mechanics. And no, I won't go there because, you know, people are just like, I won most out of touch with reality for my senior class. That's how out there people thought I was. And some are really surprised, like, really, you're traveling the world and you're speaking, like, because nobody wanted to listen, nobody would take me seriously. So it was easy to just play the, you know, I'll just be the F up, because it's more comfortable for people, and I can play that role without being fake. But I just, it's sort of like living a double life. I have a mission, and whether you understand it or not, I'm still going to do it. So I don't know where I was going with this, but there was something that you said that reminded me of something. What was kind of the point of what we were talking about? Kind of going off on a tangent. You have something to say.
We're talking about denial and recognizing, having the courage to recognize we were misled. Yeah.
Right. So the person's been in the system and there's indoctrination. It's like, why can't people walk away and say, look, I gained the skills of becoming a teacher or being a doctor or being a physicist and this and that. Why do you have to suck on the system and be dependent when you're an intelligent person that can turn the other way and do something of real value with this intelligence and skill? Just because you were misled doesn't take away your intelligence. Apply it in a more appropriate way so that you're not contributing to anybody's hurt. And it's totally understandable and forgivable. Even if you were born into a satanic cult. I mean, it's just like, we lovingly embrace people like that. There's no judgment. But like, stop already. I mean, it's like seeing somebody in a toxic relationship. You know, the person's cheating. All the signs are there. They can't face that truth. But, you know, we're not leaning on like a political front. There's a higher spiritual level of love and compassion and understanding. Why don't we all put our heads together and work together? So teachers and doctors and those that are in these professions can starve that beast, not follow the mandates, not be obedient, and we can all come together in unity consciousness and really form strong communities. We don't need that other world. And you know what? It's screwing up future generations, and they're going to be very damaged. And, you know, no matter how much denial there is, it's only getting worse. It's a little monster that's growing inside of them because of the complacency or the continuation of it. Belittling people with conspiracy theory terms when we're talking to real victims that have survived these projects and programs is absolutely irresponsible and ridiculous. That they could just throw that stigma or that projection on a person when books have been written and people are brave enough to tell their stories. We need to be brave enough to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Before you continue, I just saw something caught my eye in the chat. I'm going to highlight it. This person, Willow Dream, says, I think that's very important that if everyone would be aware of this, I quote, I wouldn't have ever participated if I knew that it was bad. Thank you, Willow. I think this is very important for anyone to listen and let sink in. Be aware of that, to forgive ourselves.
I agree.
And it's so forgivable.
It is. And see, I think that goes back to ego, because if we can be humble, then yeah, there might be a dark night of the soul for a bit. And I've had my share of just being like, what? That's messed up too. Like, no, really, don't touch this over here because that has to be right. Like, please don't mess with that. You know, whether it was religion or, you know, government or politics or all of it, you know, just as we have those, like, when you get the facts and when you research to follow up to make sure that things are really real, you know, the humble thing to do, especially if you have any kind of platform, but even if you don't, then you go to whoever and you say, you know what, I did this for however many years, but I realized that was messed up, and I have this new realization that this is the thing now, and I'm sorry, and I'm also still in process, and I'm trying to figure it out as we go, and good, you know, wishing me good luck in the process, you know, just to be okay with yourself in that, and then, you know, oops, and keep going. And when you do keep going, you know, just laugh about it, and hopefully don't cry too much about it. And then, you know, you're going to have a better opportunity to help those coming out of those situations than someone who never ever was there in the first place, is because then you know both sides. You know, like, well, I thought like that too, and now I studied this, and this, and I'm seeing this, and that's where I got my conclusion that that was kind of a program. That was what I was messed up in before, and I don't know why I bought it then, but I don't now. And you'll have that experience to be a bridge to different, whether it's religion, politics, government, medical, and you know, and that's what most of us are doing. Is we're all just where we're at. And this is where we are, and all we can do is just be where we are right now. I will probably not believe half the shit I do in a couple days, you know, who knows? But I say that out loud. I'm like, and when people challenge me, I'm like, you know what? Send me some stuff. I could be wrong. I'm cool with looking into it. And sometimes I'm like, no, I've spent 20 years studying this, and I think I know more. So it just depends. You know, I don't want to be like egotistical at all, but you know, if some of you who are watching, and I know you guys have hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and someone will ask a question and they want you to explain like 20 years of your research in a sentence or two. Like, can you just tell me real quick? And I'm like, no, go research it. You know, I'm good with where I'm at and what my conclusions are, at least right now. And you need to be where you are at, with some research and looking into some things. And sometimes I'll send a couple links or whatever, but go to the website, go Google, you know, look up things.
Yeah. Go on, Laura.
Wait, can I add something? My dad always made me look up in the dictionary. Like if I say, Dad, how do you spell blah, blah, blah? And now we can just Google, right? Or spell check, which most of the time is totally wrong because I say F and it comes out duck every time. But I'm just saying, I'm like, why does it say duck? It's totally not duck. But my dad, if I said, Dad, tell me how to spell whatever, he'd go, look it up in the dictionary. He would make me do the work to research it on my own because there's something to the energy of investigating, to researching, to investing time into something. You hold it better, you keep it, just like earning a car that you bought or a house that you bought instead of getting it free. There's something with the cost, the investment. And anyway, I had to say that.
Nice. Yeah, gosh.
Yeah, Laura. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you go.
No. Go ahead.
I don't know. I just think at the end of the day, being true to the self is the greatest gift we can give to ourselves. And I mean, if it costs us certain friendships and relationships, then that's a good thing. I mean, the whole process of death, rebirth, alchemy, transformation that's connected to Pluto means we release what doesn't serve us so that we can make room for what does. People that hold on too tight to things that aren't healthy out of just a false sense of security or dependency, if people could just let go, it's not worth that paycheck. It's not worth just the house I share with this abusive partner. It's like, it's like people, the anticipation is worse than the actual jump into one's greater destiny. It's like being in a plane and not sure your parachute's going to open. So you just sit there and you're not going to take the leap. And one stresses themselves with all the what ifs. Well, why don't you just take the leap? Because this is what's going to bring you closer to God and your own God source connection, is to, find that instability, to reclaim a sense of stability in the world, regardless of who you know, what your attachments are. And to me, that's like claiming, sovereignty and a true sense of freedom, to then create visions and dreams that mean something, and to also acknowledge the synchronicities that bring you to your soul family and soul mates and people that really truly care. And so many are so afraid of taking that dive. And to me, it's a crisis in people's spirituality. Some might just go to church and just pray, please, but where's the prayer and action? Where's the trust in yourself? Because if you don't have that, nobody's going to really do it for you. And so I think that's where we get real embodied in our spiritual nature, is to, take risks, because we know we are made of more. We deserve better, and we don't need to compromise ourselves for no one.
Yeah. The guilt as well, which is in the education we are given, the education, the system, the religion. Guilt is a real poison, because you've done something bad, you know it, you need to repent and just suffer with it. No, you suddenly realize you made a mistake. Well, this energy of feeling horrible about you, transmute it. And Laura, you are talking like that's the alchemist talking. Transmute. You feel bad because suddenly you realize you don't have done this job or done that. Well, it's fine. You didn't know at the time. Transmute this feeling, because it's very strong, into something. Now heal it, repair the mistake, do something good. Go and do the counteraction. Yeah.
Totally. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted. Yeah.
Sorry, I do want to add this because this has come up this week, and I want to just clarify. I am not talking about people who have been in the medical field for all these years or on the front lines, and who are all of a sudden being given these basic choices of you do this or you quit at this point. I am not talking about you. I am talking about others. I'm not saying that it's right that they should put you in that position where you have to do this thing or quit your job. And I actually had posted something about that on my main page. And I had a physician, because people were posting about, hey, my son is in this situation, whatever this situation, whatever. And I was like, wow, that is terrible. Who would want to work for anyone having to go through that? And this is why I left a year ago. and do this all from here now, because I have freedom to be honest and to not have to trace people and not have to hurt people. And there's tons and loads of people who are leaving, which is actually super sad. And I had said, that's terrible that they're living under those conditions. It shouldn't be like that. And I said, who would want to live like that? And this other physician responded and said, me, I would, because this needs to happen, and the people in the medical field need to get this. And she went on to say that this is 101 adulting. If you don't like the job where you're at and the requirements that you have to have for this job, then go get a new one. And I was mortified, because I think it's sad that anyone would have to go to school all those years and work somewhere as a firefighter or wherever, and then be forced to leave unless you want to put that in your arm. I just watched, many of you may have watched the guy in Hawaii who's the chief of the fire department, and he's bawling, sitting there saying, you know, he runs in the fires, like lifeguards go in 40-foot, you know, waves, and how he's got to decide by the 15th, I think, of next month or something. And that is wrong. That is control. That is, I'm not talking about that when I'm saying this. I'm not, but I do wish everyone would stand up, because it looks like with the airlines, there was one airline that was saying this is what's going to happen, and guess what? Everybody walked. A lot of people walked. And next thing you know, they were all going to different airlines that weren't experiencing that. And then all of a sudden, those airlines came out and said, guess what? We're not going to force that. We've got this epiphany. Oh, really? Because they didn't have all of their flights canceled? I mean, I was trying to get flights to just go somewhere, you know, on like a Monday and come back on a Friday. And I could get there on a Monday, but I couldn't come back for 3 weeks because there were no flights. They were canceled. And then my kids were in Colorado, and they had got up there and were trying to get back, and they couldn't get back except for 2.5 weeks was their next flight to come home. And they already had a flight to come back in a few days, and they canceled it. So they had to rent a car and drive home. So, well, they didn't have to, or wait around for 3 weeks. And so, anyway, I just want to differentiate here when I'm saying, you know, like, have an epiphany and forgive yourself and move on. I'm not saying that in this situation. I'm saying we should all stand up and everyone should get really loud over this shit. And if we would all come together and get really loud about this shit, then people would be like, oh shit, they're for real. And we're not going to have anybody in these fields, in this line of work, police, frontline people, anyone in the hospitals, you know, whatever. They're paying nurses $275 right now an hour, because everyone's walking, just saying. And or they've had problems from getting the thing and they can't work anymore. Same with doctors. They're so sick they can't work. And so I just had to say a differentiation there. And also want to say, you mentioned prayer and how you don't just sit back and go, well, I'll be praying about that. I just put a meme up of like Christian fire department, and it was like a fire and a guy jumping off the building because of a fire, and they're all like holding hands, fire department downstairs while the fire's going. They're all holding hands, like praying to God. And I'm just like, get in the fucking fight, man. Like, do something. Be God in action. Like, that is not Christianity. Jesus didn't sit on the sidelines and be like, oh, I hope God comes and takes care of it. I mean, we are supposed to be missioned here. We are co-missioned here to be God in action, to be the hands and feet here in love. And part of love is standing up for what's right. If we don't do it, nobody will. We are the ones. And I'm sorry if I get really pissed off about that. No, I'm not. I'm super excited that I'm mad about it, because people are literally dying. Literally, I'm seeing people dying. I'm seeing people have to leave their jobs because they're so sick that they're dismantled from writing their name or driving a car or cutting hair or doing anything, talking, or they're just dying. So I'm a little bit mad about it.
Yeah, and that's powerful. I mean, killing the human spirit and just our ability to just be empowered, because the system conditions a person to be very disempowered, to me is the ultimate lowering of the immune system. So why fear something that has an antidote? And the antidote increases the immune system because joy is returned. A sense of freedom is returned. That increases the immune system. We're in an ascension window period where we're supposed to advance as humans. We're supposed to reclaim our lost treasures and activate our dormant DNA. We can handle anything if we put our attention on that. And so, I mean, we have to gather in communities and encourage, you know, doctors and teachers and everybody to say, why do you need that? If you're a fireman, why don't we get a vehicle and all the equipment that you need and give your number or some maybe 800 number that people can call and you can be self-employed and just do it on your own terms. I mean, you got the skills, you have the resume, you have the ability. We don't need those guys. They're manipulative, and you know, we can build communities from the ground up with the utilization of everybody's talents and skills and callings, and we can do it ourselves and on our own. We don't need any of that. It's like, okay, you might have been educated through the system, but they don't have to own you. Those skills and abilities can still be present in communities, and we can find a way to keep in touch with each other amongst ourselves. If there's a fire, okay, well, I bought my own freaking truck and here's a hose, and I know, I'm just saying that there's more hope than we can imagine. You know, the loss of a job is also a rebirth of a new life. The loss of anything is an opportunity for something greater to come in. And we're being challenged right now to just let go and embrace the creative imagination and all the possibilities, and not just let the limitation of, okay, I mean, how many times have people like you, or a lot of us, just started from scratch, lost a home, lost everything? It's like, I might as well survive like more than 40 natural disasters, because, you know, I just grabbed my small amount of belongings and just headed off in a vehicle and found another place to live, over and over and over again, with two small children, you know, twins, pretty much by myself, and really discovered the power of perspective, thoughts, and intention, and how even when you feel like you have nothing, or there's been a big failure, if you change one's perspective and you know you're abundant and you're connected and you hold that, that's when synchronicities and miracles happen. And I know you wrote a book about the science of miracles, but people have to have greater faith in themselves. If everything's being ripped from you, it's because you're about to discover your treasures and begin to look in the right direction to find regeneration and renewal and hope, because this is why we're being challenged. You know, these adversities we can leverage in our favor. And to me, this is why this is happening. But people got to cut the cords and stop feeding the dark system that is just like sticking with a narcissistic abuser as a partner. So why would I have anything to do with, we can just do it ourselves? Sorry, go ahead.
I know I was married with an abusive husband, and I learned from it, and I learned how you get out of it. And it's for all these people, the person who have been through an abusive situation. Well, we all actually, the bad news is we are all humanity going through an abusive relationship with our governments, a narcissistic abusive relationship by our governments. The only way to get out of it, it's like the butterfly, just let go the ancient system. Don't try to rely on it because it's crumbling. So if you try to hold on to it because you are told that's the only way to go, but it's not working, it's just getting worse and worse. It's because you hold on to the old paradigm. That's why it's getting worse and worse and worse. And it's not going to get better if you keep doing that. Just let it go. And it's scary. I know. I want to say that we have the choice for everything. Sometimes you think you don't, but you do. But sometimes there are choices that are super hard and that are going to get you through some shit troubles. But these ones, you know, it's the shamanic transformation. You need to die if you want to reborn to something, to a new life. And that's where we are at the moment. Totally. That's what I want to say.
And I'll tell you what, like, we wouldn't know who we are unless we were faced with some of these things in the first place. Like, if everything was just super easy all the time and there was never any dark, but dark actually brings us to the understanding of what real light is. And then that's, you know, honestly, if everything was perfect all the time, we would just be like, oh, this is so fun and easy and everything's great. But when we're faced with this situation or this choice, then you find out, will you really make the choice when the choice shows up? What are you going to do? That's when you know you have courage, as if you did the courageous thing. And then you have confidence in yourself that, remember that last time you did the courageous thing when you left the guy or you left the situation or, you know, whatever, you broke up, you know, it's like that gives you more confidence to make better choices, to, first of all, have the wisdom and discernment not to get in those choices again. But if you happen to, that you'll be strong to face the next thing and make a new choice again. And because you'll have that, well, I made it through that, and I'm going to make it through this, and we're going to make it through this, you guys. We are going to make it through this. And we'll find out who we are. You're going to find out who you are in your situation. And we're all finding out that we have a lot more courage than we ever thought we had in the first place. We are so strong. We have amazing DNA that's in us, and it's just activating with the darkness. The darkness is activating the DNA within us. And we're just like, wow, I didn't know I had it in me. And it's there. It's been there the whole time. You just didn't know. And we're seeing the people behind the curtain. And we're seeing, like Elena just posted this about the guy behind the curtain, and realizing that, Dorothy, we had the shoes the whole time. We have the shoes. Yes, we have everything in the DNA. And you are more powerful. We are more powerful than we ever thought we were. And when we're in numbers, oh my God, I think part of the trick is to think that you're alone, and that there aren't anybody else that thinks like you, or not anyone else who would make the same decisions. And the truth is, there's way more of us. They just have these, you know, weaponized mockingbird situations to make it look like, you know, the 90% think this, and really it's probably the 90% that are thinking just like you. And they just have to use that because they are losing. They're losing, yes. And they know it, and they're freaking out. And there are more of us. We know there's more of us. And so going back to responsibility, being responsible, when you react, then realize, okay, how I'm going to use this for me, what's still in there that needs to be healed, and working through that, and then coming back, you know, getting into nature. I took some time off to just cry and be outside. And you know, I know Laura just had a trip outside. I'm so jealous. She actually slept under the stars. I didn't do that. But, you know, I mean, just if you are in that where you have to be in it, then it's really good to take time away and come, you know, and to reinforce your body and your DNA and your strength to come to be able to withstand and to remember in the midst of that. And to be able to reflect and being responsible with what you're eating, what you're talking about, who you're hanging out with, what you're drinking, you know, being in nature, taking time to prioritize with your family and be present. Like, those are all choices that you can make, that you're absolutely in control of, that I'm in control of too. And we can help the DNA by just doing those things, you know, decrees in our mind, and exercise, and drinking lots of water. And I'm not always the best at any of those things I just said. I'm going to be honest. And I'm also in process. And I have to recommit and recommit and recommit, whether it's my thought process or my diet or being outside or like getting off the freaking computer for a minute and just being like, no, you know, like it's enough for the day. I'm good, you know? So I don't know. What do you do, Elena?
Well, I was just struck by this simple, I listen to you and I keep on half of an eye on the chat, and there are some wonderful comments. People are really coming up with nice things. And this person, Rose, said, courage is contagious. And that's exactly what you were saying. And I mean, there's so many other people. Some say you cannot. That's the one I like. This one. We can only see the stars for the darkness. That's so fantastic. So that's good. Fantastic.
And I mean, yeah. Keep
go on. No, Laura. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, just like the soil, the womb, the creative cauldron that births life. I mean, that is dark. The integration of light and dark to me is conception. So if our thought forms and our intent is like a seed and we plant it in the darkness, I mean, we generate our reality and how we experience it. So we have to be very careful with our thoughts and with our intent. And that's why there's mind control and social engineering, because if they can control the mind, then they can siphon the creative power of the people that enables the artificial timelines and the destructive futures that we don't need at all. So we just really need to, you know, cut the cords and just know that we can manifest pretty much anything through consistency, because it's a relationship. The whole concept of alchemical marriage is a relationship with creation. And it's alchemical in the sense that if there's devotion, commitment, love, and intent to activate our dormant DNA to exist in a beautiful future and a higher earth energy, and we keep renewing it and we keep showing up for it, there's nothing that can penetrate that field except for false belief systems. And the truth frequency always sustains the physical body. It'll regenerate it. It'll keep it healthy and immune to all these destructive things. It's the spiritual archonic attacks and the mind control and the social engineering that people need to be more concerned about, more so than a virus, because that is where it originates, is the mind viruses, the propaganda, the narratives, the infection of a person's creative channels, the hauntedness of the creative imagination that cannot see beyond the limits of fear. When really, to me, the awakening is, oh my gosh, the vastness of my creative imagination has a much, much better idea and story to write into the script of this human experience on a personal level and a collective level.
Yeah, yeah. And accepting to let it go, it's accepting the transformation. And this is, you know, it's the soil. I live a lot by the cycles of nature as well. And before the coming of winter, the earth that has given everything must go to rest and renew. And the nature is showing us a tree cannot live eternally if it doesn't let go the leaves and just cut what doesn't serve it anymore. And that's going to bring nutriment to the soil. And it is always in the perfect darkness that all the seeds sprout to the light. And that's where we are. We need to accept this, And, you know, once I was walking in the street, that something really that inspired me. It's Thorhan from upstairs who told me something. I was annoyed because I was and sad and bit desperate, because I was walking to the shop in the street and I saw all these people sad wearing the thing here and sad and walking like zombies. And I was thinking, gosh, I spend a lot of time on media trying to tell to people to be sovereign and you have the choice and blah, blah, blah. And I go out and I see all these people walking like zombies. And I just had a moment of discouragement. I was thinking, gosh, what else can I do? What else can I do to convince them that there's something else to life? That's life. It's not that. That's not it. That's not it. And I was like, what can I do else? And I thought about these people who have their own families like this. I'm lucky enough my family didn't choose this path. But oh my gosh, you know, and suddenly I heard the connection with upstairs and his voice in my head. And he said, shh, be yourself and show them. Only that. And that was such a revelation for me, because instead of getting into the energies of frustrations, just redraw and show your power. Show that you can do without this, that you can live differently, you can be free, you can be happy and healthy, not going through this. And just be yourself. And that's contagious as well. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
It's definitely felt. And, you know, when we did our last roundtable with you guys and Tony, you said fear is consent. And I mean, I cannot even tell you how many times that keeps coming back to me, because the opposite of fear is love. So if fear is consent, that means love is not consent. Love is just staying power. Love is radiating. Love is reflecting. Love is, you know, call it pushback, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, if standing up for what is righteous and just, and I say righteous because righteous means to do the right thing. If standing up for what is right and what is loving and what is good and what it keeps people healthy, if that is what needs to be done and that is what love is, then, you know, radiating love through thought, through imagination, through meditation, through art, you know, there's so many different ways that we can do that. And, you know, just sending good vibes to someone could, because it is felt, there is something to that. And we can either be a reflection of light and like the sun blazing and radiating out, or we can be the victim sponge that just sucks everything in and takes it all personal. And you know what? I have totally done both. And it's so much better radiating than sucking shit in and like being upset about it and going down that, because trust me, you both have seen me at my worst. Probably, you know, it's like whether it's in text or real life, you've seen me when I'm just having a breakdown. And many of you who are watching, you've probably seen my videos when I'm just like having a bad day and I'm being honest, you know, but we will move through this when we choose to. And as long as we are just completely honest, and, you know, the minute we say, I feel this, or I feel angry, sad, feeling like grief, that when you can own that and be responsible for it, that's what flattens it. That's owning it and looking at it is what transmutes it to then create more space for God. And I don't know if you've ever had a situation where you were like, you know, maybe had to be around a family member that you guys had words or something, and it was just like, you know, constantly going to the family reunion or whatever, and you got to be around this person that maybe you didn't get along, and all they had to do was just say, oh, I'm so sorry, and then you would feel relieved in your body and everything else. Because they heard you and you were accepted and you were received, and there wasn't a lot of energy to pretend everything was fine. And that's how your physical body is too. Your body is sad or angry or whatever, but sometimes we're up here denying it and acting like, no, we're cool, everything's fine, and putting on a front, and your body is like mad because it's like, why aren't you being honest? And so when we can just take a couple seconds a day and just go, this is what I'm feeling right now. And I don't mean like major in it and graduate in it and call your friends and be all like, you know, trashing all over the internet and stuff like that. I mean, in your quiet self, just going, okay, what am I feeling? I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling grief. I'm feeling anger, whatever. That is literally what your body needs to hear you admit. And when you admit it, your body immediately relaxes. And again, you expand more God love, because that's unconditional love. That's truly unconditional love. If we only love ourselves when we're not hating, when we're not grieving, when we're not whatever, fill in the blank, then that is literally putting a condition on your own self-love. And when we love ourselves unconditionally, that is when we can truly expand and radiate and reflect God.
Wow. Really beautiful said. Yeah. Go ahead, Elena.
No, I'm just in awe. I'm just thinking these words in Go, Nora. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, our physiology is an incredible thing. I mean, we have this human vessel to experience a major, like, full spectrum of frequencies. And what makes a benevolent higher being a higher being that is capable of extraordinary magic and miracles, or just, you know, where it's like, oh, how is that even possible? Whether it's a person reflecting on Christ and his journey and path and extraordinary abilities, or anybody else similar. It's the frequency of love. It's not being in duality. So if we want to advance ourselves, I mean, we can reach these levels, but we need people in our life that allow this level of sort of honesty and clarity and willingness to work through ancestral patterns, programs, and to have enough patience to be able to, you know, handle the triggers that come up and handle it in a mature way instead of kind of acting out or projecting it or blaming a person that has nothing to do with the previous wounds of your life. And if we're able to do that, we advance ourselves so quickly. And the physiology connected to the frequency of love puts a person in a state of bliss. Why do people drink or do drugs? Because they miss that. There's this theft of not having a real mother or father, maybe because the biological family had major breakdowns or traumatic things. But then there's the greater mother-father energy and the divine blueprint within that people are starving for. They miss it. They long for it. And if they don't give themselves the ability to embody it and get in touch with it, it's just like, it gets very difficult. So that can be a home base, even if we're moving through difficult stuff, to know that that's there, that unconditional love is there. Lower creator gods in some of these religions and some of these events that have taken place and the things that have been modeled to us are very conditional. You need to do this to be loved. You need to do this to be this or that. You need to achieve this to have any status or worth. And we got to go down to the primordial space of, you know, really experiencing the fullness of our feelings and emotions and thought forms, and know that clearing all this difficult, toxic, or wounded energy or ego, negative ego imbalance, or any, you know, kind of programming that puts a limit on your sense of self-worth, the minute we clear that, something huge emerges where the true divine parents that are a part of our DNA, that is a part of this greater awakening, is going to nurture us from the inside out to the point where we can hold that space for others and be that level of support, reminding people that there is unconditional love. It's not all about betrayal or competition or trying to like one up on somebody and to base like human advancement on competition and jealousy or lower like Pandora's box type emotions. The 7 deadly sins can become the 7 great virtues of you know, this whole passage of, you know, transformation to the point where the children, you know, smile, they come and run and give you hugs. Animals come and gravitate towards you because you're just beaming love. It's like everybody has Christ consciousness to embrace. Why should we be victims? Why should we, you know, fall apart when this is the great discovery? And yeah, maybe, you know, I don't know about the walking on water part, but I mean, it's here for us. It's here for us to embrace, and we are the greatest teachers to each other when these things come to the surface. And it's just wonderful, you know, to have the kind of friends or partners that will hold your hand through those, you know, darkest of times. Most important thing is that we can just be responsible to our feelings and be as mature as we can be to, you know, things that hurt, because somebody can say something, your body can shut down, your blood pressure can spike. And in a moment's notice, you might be having a panic attack, going to the hospital thinking you're having a stroke or a heart attack because somebody hit that button. But then on another level, when somebody truly sees you and gives you love and respect, like you were saying, the physiology of the body changes. You relax, your nervous system calms down. And we all have to be this for each other. We have to step up to this part of ourselves so that we can generate this incredible, you know, energy and heal all this pain and stop putting people in boxes and judging them. If we have mutual love and respect, it doesn't matter what our differences are. We can reach unbelievable heights with just a little bit of love and respect.
I agree.
Laura, I totally agree. That's so well said and so profound. To me, love, it's a frequency. And it's when we start to love ourselves and forgive ourselves for all the mistakes we've made, if we just surround ourselves and drink ourselves with this love that we give to ourselves, it generates a frequency, and we heal all the wounds we have. And then we start to become more and more at peace with ourselves. And we have compassion and gentleness and kindness and understanding and forgiveness for ourselves. And we start to emit this frequency that is so high, so beautiful. And we're not at conflict with ourselves anymore. And then we're not going to project these conflicts outside. So that's why the DS bombards us with fear signals, because that is the contrary. That's such a low vibration takes our power away, but low frequency just suddenly activates our power, and then we start to radiate this peace, and that's contagious, and that's going to modify the reality and other people's energy. Key for everything. The key for everything to change the world. What do you think, girls? Yeah.
Oh, totally. And it's so comforting to know this.
Yeah.
And I really feel that this is what this window's about. It's a prophesized ascension window period. It's a time of human advancement, being sabotaged by the concepts of transhumanism and AI, and absolutely, like, you know, overtaking the human mind because some outer authority knows better. What about cosmic and natural law? What about our direct connect with source, our spiritual freedoms to experience it on our own terms, and be the embodied person of love, compassion, and integrity, and just have it as a way of life instead of worrying about which phrase to read in the scriptures or what church to go to. It's like, I mean, if that is what people feel called to do, great. But at the same time, it's just cultivating our character to be in alignment with our soul and our direct connect with true spirit, and to be that beacon. And, you know, I do feel like the event, or a great event that's going to take place, is when that recognition begins to spread. Because that, to me, you know, the love virus is way stronger than any other like bioengineered virus, any dark technology. And that's part of turning the lead into gold, that we will dismantle and neutralize these dark weapons through this frequency, because it's an override frequency that literally renders all these weapons null and void, because it's no longer controlling the mind. If it was enough to just zap us with these things, there wouldn't be false news and propaganda and indoctrination. If it was just enough to use weapons and poison our food, they wouldn't bother with the rest of the circus and show. They need us to buy into the programs for the toxicity and the negative impact of all these weapons to actually work. Once we're immune to the propaganda and the mind control, these weapons have nothing on us, because we're functioning on a higher dimensional level that has a different sort of physics than the lower 3D realms. And it can turn lead into gold. That's why the whole concept of alchemy has never really left me, because we do it on a soul level. Anyway.
Oh, that's it. And I mean, after all the aspects of this topic we've just went around, the answer is love. The key is love for everything. Everything. Here we go.
And I love
I'm not showing you my boobs, although maybe I am.
Love wins. Love always wins. So, girls, yeah, we are just touching an hour and a half soon, and I would like to say thank you, and to have just proven by just that love is the key for everything. Love is all. And so I'm going to ask you as the last words, each of you, well, what is your final blessings on for humanity? What would you say each to everyone, to help everyone to go through these times, and also where can we find you? I know, Laura, I would like you to tell where we can find you, and talk also about your medias where you do all your videos, because people ask me a lot, and also Sharnael. So I'll let you the last words, girls. Here we go.
Yes. Well, first of all, you guys can do your due diligence and share this, because you never know who's out there that could be having a discouraging day. Discouraging meaning the opposite of courage day. And, you know, as we go in with the flow, you know, sometimes you happen to run into someone that this all of a sudden they can hear it, and whatever the frequency is, and maybe you've said the same thing over and over and over again, but then something that Laura says or I said or Elena says, and they're like able to hear it. You just, who knows how that works. I've seen that happen for decades, and sharing is really important, and getting this out there, being true, loving yourself. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I would leave with is, you know, obviously God wins, but I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. I think it's called Tomorrow War or something that just came out, but I'm not a big fan of movies anymore, but happened to watch them. And they were sending people to the future to like fight for a war that was going to happen. And, you know, people, your ancestors are all watching. There are people galactically that are watching. You know, this is our time to shine, and you know, we get to be here right now. We picked being here. We get to be here, and we get to make the choices that we make in the time that we're here. And you know, let's do the loving, kind, God-win thing in this, and let's you know, continue to just work on ourselves. And you know, if you got to get up 15 times a day after you've fallen 15 times a day, you know, 14 times a day, you know, don't stop. The only way to lose is to give up. And you know, do your best to maintain your health and your sanity, your emotions, your family life, you know, your sleep, and finding out and remembering your truth. And your truth may not be what mine is. We might have completely different walks, and that's totally fine. But thank God, because you know, you are doing something and you are located somewhere where I'm not, and so you get to be the hands and feet there doing the thing that you're called to. And Laura's got her thing, and Elena's got her thing, and we all get to just be the big picture with all of our little pieces and what we're called to do. And so I would just encourage everybody to be honest with themselves every day, and to have that self-care, and to have that forgiveness and grace for ourselves in this time, and to remember your strength in this time. And you can find me at swiftfire.org. That's probably the best way to get me. You can get on the newsletter that way. No matter what's going on with all the censorship stuff, then you can find me at swiftfire.org. I have books and resources and classes and consultations and things like that. We do coaching. But yeah, go to swiftfire.org, and then I'm on all like Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and, you know, all BitChute and stuff. Of course, the more honest things are on BitChute and my website. So if you can go to the website, then you're going to see stuff that you won't see me talk about in the hiding part of Facebook and stuff. So, but I love you all. And I'm going to cry again. I get so emotional. But Laura and Elena, I mean, my love for you is my respect and my love and my everything for you and what you're doing, and getting up every day and keeping on going, and never hiding, never stopping. You know, I look to you guys. I know we don't put people up higher, but you know, I just see you guys so shiny and so bright. I'm just honored beyond all honor that in my life right now I get to be with y'all, and we get to do this. And all of you watching, you know, we're in this together. Every bit of you who posted something beautiful and positive, you have no idea how much that means to all of us, because it is isolating at times. And you know, if we didn't have each other, including all of you, and every little thing that you say, it means so much when you guys say like positive things, because there's a frequency to that. And you know, we do need each other. So I love all of you.
Thank you.
Oh gosh, I just feel so much of what you're sharing, and so incredible to be with both of you. And oh gosh. So yeah, I guess I'm just going to leave with these thoughts. I mean, remember, your intuition and your higher guidance is the most important thing to nurture, cultivate, and strengthen a bond and relationship with. If people are just only taking in the external and just making choices and decisions based in fear, then the intuition atrophies. It's like it becomes not very accessible. The mind just gets overwhelmed with belief systems or fears or what ifs that overtake the ability to really hear what your intuition is telling you, what your higher guidance is wanting to show you, which has the natural organic instinct to protect you and to assist in showing the synchronicities that support your greatest dreams and visions. So that's the beauty of us as creative individuals, is that when we have a particular intent, when we have a particular focus, life is going to help us to discover it, to manifest it. But if we're caught in fear, if we're allowing somebody else to run the show as far as taking over our minds through these fear tactics and psychological operations, we're not going to notice the synchronicities. We're just going to see things that reinforce the fear. We're going to see the things that remind us of enslavement and New World Order versus ascension, transformation, and renewal and rehabilitation. So we have to keep our creative energies engaged in visions and dreams that feel resonant to our greater calling, and not let the rest of it bully us out of it or intimidate us out of this greater awareness. And we have to also understand that if we're going to build the muscle of intuition, we have to accept the obstacles and adversities as a way to strengthen ourselves. And that every time an adversity comes up, every time a weird physical symptom, whether it's emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, it doesn't matter. It's an opportunity to strengthen ourselves and to open up a door to access our greater treasures, versus becoming victimized to the point of losing connection with the gift of adversity. People take blessings for granted. We see that all the time. You know, the whole concept of the ring of power, or how the attitude towards others that might not have as much can create, you know, sort of a snobbery of, oh, I'm playing the game so well, you know, you're lesser sort of mentality. And just heal and let go of whatever stigmas you might be carrying connected to that. Because, you know, to me, true wealth and riches is recognizing how abundant you are, how creative you are, and how much you don't need to be defined by the system. And all it does is create subpersonalities. Dig deeper, because the energies in the higher dimensions are found within. We win the war within, and we open up ourselves to these higher dimensions through becoming deeper, kinder, more pure, and willing to handle the accumulation of any kind of toxicity, regardless of where it impacts us. And when we do that, the earth responds to us. This is how we clean polluted waters. This is how we clear the skies of chemtrails. This is how we regenerate animals from being extinct and the degradation of the environment. This is where we turn fire into the sacred flame of truth and love and wisdom, instead of use it to bomb people and harm people and destroy people. So when we get a grip on that, the earth responds to us, and we notice the initiation into higher earth energies, because it starts here. And we're going to witness a lot. We're going to support each other. We witness other timelines and other realities that aren't necessarily the trajectory that we're on. But as long as we're here in service, and we're here in support to build community, to strengthen the unified field of love, and the vulnerability of the struggle that comes along with all of this, so that we can turn the wounds and the pain into jewels and crystals and diamonds and wisdom and all that good stuff. So anyway, that's my final thoughts. And you can find me at cosmicgaia.org. The new platform is Conscious Vitality. I do a once a week show there, and all kinds of stuff that I was not able to share in all these other channels that I've been banned from. And so we go real deep, and I'm going to definitely be creating more with these two amazing, beautiful women that I'm so grateful to know. And I can't imagine this journey without you guys, and all of you, and all your support is so deeply appreciated. And thanks everybody for being here.
Love.
Thank you, girls, and it's gonna be fine. Let us just beam love and love to everyone. Bye.
Love.